clenching your teeth and wondering why people are clenching their teeth. TMJ, it is called, I think. And grinding or clenching at night while falling asleep is not recommended by too many people, but ask your own doctor or healthcare provider. I want to get into pretty soon being able to trace what it was like to be a Roman citizen in the time of Christ and afterwards, where the Apostle Paul at sometimes, he got beat a lot. And then towards the end of the book of Acts, Paul got out of a few beatings by saying, hey, wait, I'm a Roman citizen. So there's something there. We're going to have to get back to that. We also have to get back to when he said, his blood be on our hands and our children. So that's pretty intimate. Their children, their judgment, it was on their hands. Who were they we were talking about? Confidence, man. Confidence, man. Have it. But do not be a confidence man. Or don't be overconfident. Don't be underconfident. But what they tell you, don't. You can have a confidant that comforts confidentially. What a reset. What a reset. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. I know I have gotten here. I know how I've gotten here almost exactly. I can tell you, matter of fact, leave all preconception, any distraction from our inevitable end in this life. Part of the Most High's story, not his story. So history by implication is Jesus Christ, his story. We also have the Most High Spirit's story. The story of the one Spirit, that one Spirit that demands the doctrine of election stands from the Pentateuch until the New Testament. Romans chapter 9, that the doctrine of election might stand through the intention of Spirit, the Spirit that moved the minds, that guided the pens to write the Holy Scripture. And it can be written on your heart. I hope you have that light given working in your life. If you do, welcome everybody to the mud flood was Armageddon. The mud flood was Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they are willing to debate you in a fair and honest way and show these fair use disclaimers. You know what? You could have trusted me back when I didn't know how to do this, and I guess that's what got me banned from my first channel, Flat Earth Nation, Golden Age Past, way back when nobody else even dreamed of such a thing. We've got to go and keep it in order. I've made screenshots. Here's the last one. Hey, look, up there ahead, the Capitol, the very heart of this democracy. I did some Sherlocking. You know, I'm a big fan of movies from the 1930s. It tells us about what happened before and during World War II. This is a World War II movie. We'll be looking at a lot of them today with the Sherlock Holmes, Basil Rathbone, and Dr. Watson, the talented Nigel Bruce. Look at that. Democracy, the only hope for the future. It's not given. Okay. Hey, I saw, I'm going to do shows, what they call shows, my ministry. And so I've got to do the research. I stumbled on this. I'm like, better check out what is this Cash for Kids. So, wow, I had no idea how deep this rabbit hole goes. That's a dress from the historical, how people dressed, fashion. This is a boy's dress. Boy's dress. Strongly gender-coded clothing occurred to Jo Piolette. She wrote the book, Pink and Blue, telling the boys from the girls in America between 1890 and the baby boom after WW2. One part of the economic restricting certain colors, pink, blue, and styles to a certain gender meant that hand-me-downs had a smaller audience. Huh? What? What? This was a time when homosexuality as a concept I knew it. It was a concept that began to be defended. Gay people began to come out in the 1890s. I'm thinking Oscar Wilde and those guys. So certain standards and general gender roles, 1890s. Is that the last picture? You got to be kidding me. I thought I had a ton. That's New York. And you can tell in the movie, this is a spy movie where Sherlock Holmes had to come help the United States and tell the world that, the United States is a great country. It's a democracy. It's good. So look, watching out the window, there's New York City. Wow, that's a low budget cardboard. The buildings aren't even in the right places. I mean, but it's a movie. Oh, so they figured out in this one that it was a worldwide organization who will stop at nothing. Nothing, honey. And I took this picture because even back in the 40s, they had to try to fake that the star never aged and he still had that full head of hair. I'll bet Basil Rathbone said, "Why do you have to make my hair like that?" Here's something that's really cool. That's faith-based, crypto. As Off-Grid John was giving a good show this morning, I noticed that you just don't see clouds like that very often anymore. So I thought you'd want to look at them. That's what I think. And I thank him for the shout out this morning. The Queen, look, I watched part of this movie to see what it was about. And in this photograph, there's Tupperware boxes that the Queen was eating out of, boxed cereal. Not really much of a hotline, the old red hotline, and their fireplace in their grand Buckingham fountain, it looks like it's an electric heater because they probably don't know how to use them like we thought. What's going on with those electric heaters? No, I mean the fireplaces. Did you see Trump's new look? He's not doing the comb over anymore. Badass. You know what? That's he's wearing a flak jacket, 2 or 3 flak jackets, because he gets. Somebody thought that was funny. I guess I thought it was funny too. Because it's not Buzz McAllister, it's Biff Tannen. Not Buzz McAllister, Biff Tannen. That's from the movie Back to the Future. Biff, make like a screen door and get out of here. Fun, huh? Here's something. People are dying in a war. I mean, they're using the whole, it's like that Ghost Recon or the movies, the first person shooter games where they just Call of Duty, where they go after it, man, just charge, because they are going to respawn, you know? Now they're doing it for real life. And I guess both sides are lying about, we don't have as many people killed as they say. We're killing more than they admit. Here's something. Girls' violence is rare. Israel faces reshuffle. Jihadis? Jimmy Carter? Whoa. He met his, okay. More children are getting kidney stones. I read that article and thought you needed to know that. So there, you know that. Back to the Sherlock Holmes. These things were all, it tells you that they were all doing seances, all doing spiritualism. That's what Arthur Conan Doyle did. He was their guy. He's another Jules Verne. He's Tarzan, right? Conan, right? You heard of these guys? John Carter, for you hardcore Philip Dick type people. You know, hey, see, doesn't he look better without the comb over? Just wear your hair. Why have to go crazy, man? What unusual word you have? I don't think I was doing some of these titles are there for a reason. Oh yeah, this is a thing here, the Hound of the Baskerville. You blockhead, my soul to the devil for that. Girl is what this guy was listening to a speech. And when the announcer said something really, the girl in the news said something really stupid, this guy gave one of the best, like, whoa, you're not helping looks. And I think that cuts it for the you're not helping look to me. I like it. Did we cover this? Are we on anything new now? Oh, nope. Got it. To the tabs. To the tabbity tab doodahs. First off, I hope you can see it. I mean, so here's the Scarlet Claw. What I notice is that the people of Great Britain and London during the war, they hardly ever talked about it. They only were worried about the paranormal.
Operator, put me through to Quebec. Lord William Penrose. Yes, he's addressing a meeting of the Royal Canadian Occult Society. at a Quebec hotel.
Cold facts. Many years ago, 100 to be exact, an apparition appeared at night in the village now called La Mort Rouge. The following morning, 3 people were found dead, their throats torn out, hence the town's rather grim name. Interesting, yes. But facts?
Now, do you like to comb over, or should people just be people? I'm all hung up on the comb overs. Why do people got to do that? I can't stay. I would prefer they didn't. So supernatural stuff. Not a lot going on in London, though, in this one. This was actually the first of 17 films made during the war years with these two. Prominent, I mean, these guys are the regular actors that, like we have today. They can sing, they can dance, they can be serious, they can be funny. This one's colorized. Get the idea.
And in the meantime, if you wish to know what able men you are, read any of the works of popular fiction that glamorize your achievements, but don't, I beg of you, read the daily papers. They might give you an inferiority complex. I hate to mention it, but we're confronted with a series of the most atrocious murders since Jack the Ripper. And in the meantime, the CID might as well be playing at shove hate me for all the good we've accomplished. Now look. Here, here, and here. Each of these red...
So I'm trying to get my mind around, like, what do films have then? What do they have now? Besides these guys being, you know, in the great architecture of the time. I don't know, the modern movies make it act like everything's always good, but that's opulent. But I never see them at night turning out the lights, or in all of these movies, they never run for the air raid shelters. Yet in our history, things were so bad they had to get the children out of town, and many of them never saw their children again. They died of typhoid or something. And it's not what they were showing to the people at the time. No black people unless they're servants. That's part of the history they are covering up. Nice top hat. That's their world. Now she knows she's got to get to work. She's a maid. Go do it. She's a maid. Suspicious.
Oh, that priceless woman. You wouldn't believe it, but she's absurdly romantic. She loves dreamy music, and she thinks that we...
But we do, don't we?
I guess those, you think those are blackout curtains? Even a cheap motel has a pretty fancy brass bed. I don't remember too much about this movie right now because I'm all worried about, you know, I'm always anxieties like, I hope my ministry shows don't suck. Murder, murder.
Holmes, come along, come along. How many more toasts, I tell you? You're missing a treat. This is delicious. Little jam tarts to follow. Aren't you tempted?
He's thinking.
I know. He was trying to summon help, poor chap.
I don't think so, Watson. There's the bell pull for the fireplace. Was to do away with you in a certain contingency.
And you let Moriarty go because of me?
So they're all spy movies, but some are just crimes, and read all about it. That's the big news.
Winding and winding, and you're drowsy, you're tired. Let the road come into you, as it were. The long road.
These are what people were doing back then. There was no real like trusting the Lord. It was all social Darwinism. Their progressive religions were getting pummeled in the corner by Muhammad Ali, the boxer, just beating them to a pulp. And they're doing hypnotism. They're doing everything else, and it's promoted. Look at that. You see that spinning wheel?
Tripping the road at night when you're driving. The rhythm.
MK Ultra, they know how to do it.
Unbroken.
This is not quack science, people. They get, and neither is the trichord. I mean, I don't mind the music, but I don't want the children hearing the trichord. Now you are a trained monkey.
Roll up your trouser.
And you're going to get introduced into the Mason.
The other leg is waterproof. Turn around. Mind the pedals. Sit down.
So that's the woman in green. This one is Charlie Chan. The United States were good friends with China until August 45, when they all teamed up against Japan and then put in a communist, and then we weren't friends anymore.
We in a flashy win.
We are fortunate tonight. A spirit is about to join us.
You know, it's all fake until it's not. Charlie Chan had a daughter.
Need pop too. I mean your pop.
Will you two stop popping and get going?
You don't understand, Sergeant. I've been trying to tell you my pop is Charlie Chan.
I don't care if your pop is... Huh? Charlie Chan? The detective? From Honolulu? Where is he staying?
At the Chateau Hotel.
Rafferty.
Yes, Sarge.
Get him.
It's all spiritual. We got to get
What do we do
right.
now?
Yikes, scary.
Sitting there. Lords of the... Don't we, Charlie? Blimey.
Where is this Musgrave Manor?
Down the road a piece. You'll see it when you pass the old iron gates. Only don't loiter. You won't be welcome.
Boy, they can act. Look at that. Is that an I-518 or 1518? It's probably a prop.
Musgraves. Been sitting there. Lords of the manor ever since time was. If those old walls could speak, they'd tell you things that raise the hair on your head.
Woo. So anyway, people believed in weird things like dressing up their boys as girls.
I'll tidy it up at once, Doctor.
Big houses, big sets. That's how you make a movie during a war.
It's customary, Nelston, sir.
Just the sort of night I fancy for the ghost of Lady Clorinda.
Oh, no, Dr. Watson.
Okay. Every tip and lead that comes in, I'm thinking that computer mistyped that. Every piece of evidence that comes in, we don't discount. What are they talking about? Oh, here's your new stuff that's going on in the world today, right? Oh man, wow. Oh no. These guys, that's at Fort Bragg is just like, that's where I was. Everybody that's in the 82nd or is any type of, if you're going to, it used to be that if you were going to wear a beret, you went to Fort Bragg, Fort Liberty now. So that's what these guys did. This guy was still on active duty. He's very mysterious, still on active duty. Cybertruck bomber's wife broke up with him days before the explosion. So there's that. Remember Thomas Crooks? He got shot. He was murdered because he had a gun near the president. Why'd they do this? Modern readers often ask Historical Boys Clothing website these questions. Why'd they dress them like girls? This is part of the traditional gender values holding women in low regard. Isn't that the story that they're sticking to? The old world order only lived to diminish the accomplishments of women. So they say. Until the 19th century, that's the 1800s, they wore dresses like mommy. Okay. I wonder if they were doing this, any place but in the cities, in certain parts of the cities, with certain people that were going like, we are so high above all of these, we know how to let our children decide what gender they are. Hey, look, there's the 4-time president elected of the United States, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, looking like a little girl. That's a pretty big school there. Oh, that's Eaton Photography. I guess they take the best pictures. In the late 1700s, after Satan was loosed in 1711, society began to acknowledge the important phase of life called childhood. American boys began to wear skeleton suits? What? But wearing dresses did not completely went out of fashion. Good job there, computers. You guys are just too busy or something, right? Hey, there's King James. This is breaching day. His older brother. What's the story on this? That's King Charles I in 1637. Second from left in red sleeves is James, still unbreached at age 4. His mom was hanging out with some pretty weird people that were given advice on how to be astrology. Breaching. Some historians say that was a strongly gender coding that lasted from 1890 until World War II. Here's that scandal. Kids for cash. Judicial kickbacks. You can't trust anybody. Only 2 judges. Sure. It's going on all over the world, but they were just sentencing children and accepting money because some of their friends had taken advantage of the new laws that prisons were going to be for profit, private prisons, private companies going to run prisons, and they needed customers to get off to a good thing. So people were getting, they were putting people in jail for first-time offenders for posts on MySpace. Isn't that crazy? These people were putting thousands of children in extended stays in youth centers for offenses as trivial as mocking an assistant principal on MySpace. But somebody, you got to have these prisons. Wow. And it's all a mud flood world. You know who's doing it? These guys. He wanted to make some money. His friends needed kids in prison, and that'll teach them. That'll learn them. It's swept under the rug. He's been pardoned by President Biden. That's why it's in the news. He's free. Go free. You've spent 5 years in prison out of 17, or something like that. Go free. Kids for Cash was something that was working good, man. It was part of the school to prison pipeline. It's all part of that. This is the new world order. The old world order doesn't seem that much better. It seemed like it had a bunch of what they call the BS in the language of the street. Mass incarcerations. You need people in jail for crack? Well, bring in the crack in the CIA and start getting people in prison. Wow. There you go. What happened when they did the fiat money in the 1970, made abortion legal in 72 in our world? For 50 years has not looked back, and it won't for the next 22. It's going to march forward until we see Michael Obama running for president or some other weird stuff. Weird, man. But it's not the only scandal. And they're not Republican or Democrat. They're all scandals. We saw this one, we're going to look at that. That's a big one. Rod Blagojevich, that's what basically, revolved around Barack Obama. Tried to sell his seat because Barack Obama went from the Illinois Senate, the Illinois General Assembly, to the United States Senate, to president, all within the span of 6 years. And he was trying to sell, his appointment for $1 million. And Jesse Jackson was only offering $500,000. So it all just went crazy. And Roman Catholic Patrick Fitzgerald, who ran against the first black senator, Carol Moseley Braun, and won and then quit, laid the groundwork. And it's all being ridiculous because it is how to get people in prison and keep them in prison and keep the money laundering going. Rod's going to be okay. He's going to make it. I mean, let's talk about the William Jefferson corruption case. This all went down after 9/11. It's part of the George Bush hates black people. He blew up the levees in New Orleans and changed the town forever. It'll be interesting to see their Fat Tuesday in New Orleans 2025. Isn't that about a month away? Month away. Anyway, they found all kinds of money, and he was just dirty to the core, to the point of where, even during the flooding of Katrina, he was commandeering here, let's look at the pictures. There's the money, hundreds of thousands. He found it. Oh, they don't have too many pictures of it in the Wikipedia. But Rush Limbaugh was all over him. Everybody was all over him. He took a truck that got stuck so he could go to his house and get his cash, because his house was flooded in the flood also. Had to get rescued with a helicopter that took away from people that were rescuing other people. It turned out, I don't know if he got his sentence commuted. He had to serve 5 years, 5 months. They worked it out. He didn't have to go to prison for a long time, and then finally they reduced his sentence to time served. You're free because he was part of the club. First black congressman since the end of Reconstruction, when was the end of Reconstruction? Was it when they started dressing boys like girls in 1880, 90? Wow. So anyway, he was set up. He was going to, Juris Doctorate. So his PhD is, he's a lawyer. Big story, big setup. Everything's been always swept under the rug. Like right now, if I just said the name Thomas Crooks, if I hadn't mentioned it earlier, you might not associate it with Donald Trump's World Wrestling Federation move that that sent him over the top, made it for sure. It's going to happen. It was a miracle. So that's something to think about. Here's back to those movies again. A bunch of movies, reoccurring actors, playing 4 or 5, different guys playing, 4 roles. This guy was in 7 different movies out of the 14, just playing different roles. It was they had their own repertoire company. As long as they could keep Sherlock's hair combed correctly, they were going to keep rolling them in. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, like I said, Tarzan, John Carter, Conan, Sherlock Holmes. He's the underrated Jules Verne. Fighting the Nazis, but never dimming the lights at night. And these were all filmed during the war, not focusing on the war until in the 40s. They started getting like spies. Watch out for the spies, but always with the supernatural. And the modern Sherlock Holmes movies are all about Satanism, capitalism. The first movie was The Hounds of the Baskerville. I think I showed some of it. Gothic mystery film. So 14 Sherlock Holmes movies. Let's just see what Sir Arthur Conan Doyle could do. I mean, first one, created Sherlock Holmes in 1887. 4 novels, 56 short stories about them. So a lot of focus on his #1 guy for getting it out there. Of course, he had to go to a Jesuit preparatory school. Who'd be surprised if we find out he was in some secret societies? You know, he also later became a spiritualist and a mystic, something that, you know, the modern people, the modern Sherlock, he discounts. So all the focus, but where's the Tarzan? Did he do that, or am I confusing him with somebody else? That wouldn't be possible. That wouldn't be impossible. So I'll look that up. Un momento. Yeah, there's Great Boer War. That's where the English invented concentration camps. So wow, as he was in on the Freemasonry, spiritualism, a member of the Rosicrucian Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Oh my goodness. In and out as he went spiritual, resigning, joining. Okay. So they really have a backstory or on this guy, or and the Piltdown hoax. How did he get involved in the Piltdown? He may, you know what? The people that believe in weird things go to extremes to try to prove it. And that's their worst crime. When they believe it so hard, they fake it because they know it's real. And they get people to believe it. This Piltdown man was in museums, a total fake. So I guess it looks like I'm going to be wrong, and somebody else, not Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, wrote Conan or something. An encyclopedia. There's a lot of his work. Who wrote? Tarzan, Edgar Rice Burroughs. Okay. So he's another one that we're going to have to look hard at. I was conflating those adventure, science fiction, fantasy genres with the same thing. But boy, so he's a little bit later. Got a parrot. He's a pirate. So he was in the army also, in the cavalry. All right. So there is that. Here's the patriotic one. And here's the crazy hair.
Would be reduced to a size no larger than a halfpenny stamp. Slitting a match folder with this razor blade, Pettibone placed the now minute document inside, stuck it together again, and there he had it. An American match folder, rare in London, but completely inconspicuous in the United States.
Do you mean to say we're off to America just to look for a match folder? It's a big country.
A big country, Watson. And a small match folder. Come along.
Wow. I'm telling you, man, the way this went down, you got to see it.
Oh, Porter.
Yes, miss? Permit me.
Another black servant. They're all called George.
Thank you very much.
Not at all.
Wow. How about that, huh? How about that? What's this, Hounds of the Baskerville again? Too much Hounds of the Baskerville, Paco. Hey, this guy. I just wanted to look at this. I knew a way to make it big. So let's just look at a couple here. There were some on here. Beware of bezoars. Shotgun wedding. Navy may fight fire. Train crash. New bills come to Playhouse. Forum is told Japan may lose. United States needs inspectors for work at Cooley Dam. Women of Moose pay Grand Regent homage. Brand new airplanes. At the time, I was reading, they seemed like they would all be like something to look at, the paper in the past. Let's go to wrap this up now with some scriptures. That's a lot to think about. Psalm 107. Oh, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his steadfast love endures forever. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, whom he has redeemed from trouble and gathered in from the lands, from the east and from the west, from the north and from the south. Some wandered in desert waste, finding no way to a city to dwell in. Hungry and thirsty, their soul fainted within them. Then they cried to the Lord in their trouble, and he delivered them from their distress. He led them by a straight way till they reached a city to dwell in. Let them thank the Lord for his steadfast love, for his wondrous works to the children of men. For he satisfies the longing soul, and the hungry soul he fills with good things. Some sat in darkness in the shadow of death, prisoners in affliction and in irons, for they had rebelled against the words of God and spurned the counsel of the Most High. So he bowed their hearts down with hard labor. They fell down with none to help. Then they cried to the Lord in their trouble, and he delivered them from their distress. He brought them out of darkness and the shadow of death, and burst their bonds apart. Let them thank the Lord for his steadfast love, for his wondrous works to the children of men. For he shatters the doors of bronze. He cuts in two the bars of iron. Some were fools through their sinful ways, and because of their iniquities, they suffered affliction. They loathed any kind of food, and they drew near to the gates of death. Then they cried to the Lord in their trouble, and he delivered them from their distress. He sent out his word and healed them and delivered them from their destruction. Let them thank the Lord for his steadfast love and his wondrous works to the children of men, and let them offer sacrifices of thanksgiving and tell of his deeds in songs of joy. Some went down to the sea in ships, doing business in great waters. They saw the deeds of the Lord, his wondrous works in the deep. For he commanded and raised the stormy wind, which lifted up the waves of the sea. They mounted up to heaven. They went down to the depths. Their courage melted away in their evil plight. They reeled and staggered like drunken men and were at their wits' end. Then they cried to the Lord in their trouble, and he delivered them from their distress. He made the storm still, and the waves of the sea were hushed. Then they were glad that the waters were quiet, and he brought them to their desired haven. Let them thank the Lord for his steadfast love, for his wondrous works to the children of men. Let them extol in the congregation of the people and praise him in the assembly of the elders. He turns the rivers into a desert, springs of water into thirsty ground, a fruitful land into a salty waste, because of the evil of its inhabitants. He turns the deserts into pools of water, a parched land into springs of water, and there he lets the hungry dwell. And they establish a city to live in. They sow fields, plant vineyards, and get a fruitful yield. By his blessing, they multiply greatly, and he does not let their livestock diminish. When they are diminished and brought low through oppression, evil, and sorrow, he pours contempt on princes and makes them wander in trackless wastes. But he raises up the needy out of affliction and makes their families like flocks. The upright see it and are glad, and all wickedness shuts its mouth. Whoever is wise, let him attend to these things. Let them consider the steadfast love of the Lord. An interesting quote from Isaiah chapter 5, verse 8. We'll come right back to the interlinear as we read in the New Living Translation. The king should know that we went to the construction site of the temple of the great God in the province of Judah. It is being rebuilt with specially prepared stones, and timber is being laid in its walls. The work is going forward with great energy and success. These guys were trying to stop the building. They wanted to end it. And yet, it seemed as if they had to admit in Scripture, in a letter that's quoted, this is the God. They're building a temple to the great God. And that is like And the gold God the Great has made to the king, chief of the governors, the head. This is like the most high, except, oh, it's in Daniel. That must mean this is the Aramaic word, which is like why they probably call that the guy that was, trying to bum out Hezekiah at the wall. I'm the Rabshakeh, and you're going to drink your own urine. Well, not necessarily. So that's because of Esther and Xerxes, the kings of the Persian, Nebuchadnezzar, Cyrus, Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They knew, wow, you can, the people of the Hebrews are not all that, but their God is the great God. That's what I want you to know, that in the Aramaic, it's Ilah. It means the Most High, the house of God in Jerusalem. And these, again, looks like we're dealing with, is this Aramaic? So it is the same like the God Theos in the New Testament. The term Ilah, Eha, is used in the Aramaic portions of the Old Testament. Okay, so Daniel and Ezra to refer to our God or one of the lesser Elohim. Now, as we go forward in the new year, in the New World Order, and we look back, the only thing that is consistent is Spirit God moved men to write scriptures. And I'm telling you right now, that does not include the Apocrypha. It doesn't include Enoch or Jasher or any of those other books. And anyone that tells you any different are like those people in the New Testament and Book of Acts and the epistles that are called Judaizers, or they're people that want to itch your ears and take you to chase endless genealogies. They don't know what a Nephilim is. They're so confused about what a demon is, what an angel is. They err because they don't know the scriptures. They've heard it's a flat earth nation, the golden age is past, the mud flood was Armageddon. And in their hearts, they said, thank you, Paco, I'll take it from here. And they've turned it into a way they make their living. It's how they get paid. And that is something for us all to think about. Is that the right way to go? What are you going to die? How? I want you to die holding on to the plow, not looking back, because they don't make it. You have to be one called, two chosen, three faithful. The mudflood was Armageddon. Me and my friends will never tell you anything else. Why would we? We're determined and trying to prove that we are one called, two chosen, three faithful to having your best interest at heart. Amen. Hallelujah. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakame. That's how I like to say goodbye.